Before the Greeks, before the Romans, before the Bible or any empire, there was Africa. And Africa didn't just create mythology, Africa created the template for every myth that followed, each one telling the same story in a new dialect of the stars. Welcome to the presentation. I am your host, Alania Williams, and we will be going through the African and Kemetian mythology, the first dialect of the stars. The Nile as the cosmic womb. When we enter Kemetian mythology, we're walking into a civilization that saw the entire universe as a living mother. The Nile was not just a river, it was a womb. Its flooding was the yearly heartbeat of life, mirroring the cycles of the cosmos. This worldview came from matriarchy, a system built on balance, nourishment, and cosmic order. Every major Kemetian myth starts with the feminine. Nut, the sky mother arching over the world, her body covered in stars. Isis, Aset, mother of magic, resurrection, healing. Hathor, goddess of beauty, art, fertility, love. Ma'at, the cosmic feminine law of balance and justice. These were not myths to the Kemites, they were natural laws personified. They taught that the universe is stable because the divine feminine maintains the balance. This myth is foundational with Osiris and Isis, the story of the first resurrection. This myth is actually foundational because every culture repeats it later. A beloved king is killed, his body is scattered. The goddess finds him. She brings him back, she resurrects him. A divine child is born, balance restored. Kemet called them Isis, Osiris, and Horus. Later, this became Mary, Jesus, and Holy Spirit, or Gaia, Uranus, and Kronos, or Inanna and Dumuzi. Same story, new dialect of the stars. Kemet wasn't guessing. Their mythology was directly tied to astronomy. Sirius, or Sothis Isis, Orion, or Orion, is Osiris, and the sun, Horus. When Sirius aligns with the sun, the Nile floods, and Isis resurrects Osiris. So another way you could say this in a more sensual way is that when the stars align with awareness, or when there's cosmic wisdom aligning with self-awareness, the now floods, meaning the memory or the ability to channel is open, that portal is open. So the nows flood. Now, as a woman, when you are aroused, the now floods. And Isis resurrects Osiris, which is like standing at attention now. Because now that you have accumulated a feeling, now that you have expanded and opened up and flooded, now the part that releases exactly the energy you are tapping into in a more physical way versus in a very emotional or unseen way. That's what the resurrection does. It shows the power of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So this was not anything unscientifically proven. as well as spiritual. This was definitely astronomy. This was definitely astrology. This was mythology, all fused into one. Kemet didn't separate science from spirit. To them, the stars were actually alive. Matriarchy in Africa wasn't a reversal of patriarchy, it was partnership, balance, lineage through the mother, divine feminine logic, which is nurture, protect, evolve, okay, the water and earth elements. Women as healers, astronomers, midwives, priestesses. That was the everyday thing. It was naturally accepted and embraced because that was just part of the culture. That was the way that they lived. The priestesses of Hathor and Isis were the world's first astrologers. When foreign invasion and later Catholic Rome expanded, the Kemetian feminine knowledge was rewritten. Some examples of that: Isis became demonized and later sanitized into Mary, who had a little lamb. Ma'at became sin and guilt instead of cosmic balance, where the heart is weighed against the feather. The resurrection myth was claimed by Rome as if they created it themselves or they knew exactly where it came from. Astrology was banned or absorbed into patriarchal religion. What once was balance became hierarchy. What once was cyclical became linear, all straight lines, no curves. What once honored the womb began to fear it. How do we find Kemet's influence in modern astrological birth charts? You want to look at the Sirius star placement. This is linked to destiny, spiritual mission, soul memory. Orion alignments is where you can find past life leadership and resurrection themes. Look at the fixed stars in Cancer and Leo. This is where many Kemetic stars myths originate with the sun and the moon. Your moon sign connects with goddess Newton, which is the sky mother, and then your fourth house, or even your IC, the lowest part of your chart, relates to ancestral memory. Okay, and that the fourth house is the roots upon which you grow into your 10th house. And that is linked to, of course, ancestral memory and the Nile, which is the womb of origin. Your chart, your natal chart, is a star map, the same kind the priestesses study along the Nile. No difference. Okay. Where in your life do you feel called to restore balance? Like Ma'at. And where have you been resurrecting yourself? Like Isis resurrecting Osiris? Write whatever rises. Your intuitive answers come from your own cosmic memory. As we move to Greece next, you'll see the same archetypes appear again: the mother, the child, the warrior, the destroyer, the lover, but changed through the lens of patriarchy. And this is why mythologies matter, because by returning to the first stories, the initiative stories, and during Kemet was the well, just like we were in the Aquarian age, they had the Libran age during that time. Everything was very sophisticated. Okay, so we're returning to the first stories by looking at the Kemetians and their mythologies, and we can restore balance to a world that was once lost by tapping into the past in the present. Thank you so much for tuning into this message. I hope it found you well. And again, continue serving your higher power as your spirit is always leading you in the right direction. Peace.